It is truly a sisterhood. It's a Yahweh sisterhood. I mean, the Bible.
Well, I know you're out there. I see Candy and I see Susie. And remember that romper room? That woman never saw me. I waved around. Yeah, hey, wait. She never saw Mark. She never saw me. And hey, tonight is always, every night is so special. I am so proud of the PJ Net team. And it's not a big team yet, but it's a strong team. We've got a group in our chat room that is dedicated, that is loyal, that is loving and welcoming. And we've got, tonight, we have Michelle Medlock Adams, who has sold quite a few books, by the way. And this has been a heck of a ride. And she's got a story to tell tonight that's just going to warm your heart. You're going to be going, "Aww." And let me see if I can. Michelle, are you out there? Hello. She's
Hi,
not.
I'm here.
She's knocking on the door, and there she is, all the way. I guess you're home now. Michelle, last week you said that after the 4th of July you were going to take some downtime, kind of go on easy, back off the throttle. So I assume that's what you did, right? You just sat around the house in your bedroom
Yeah,
in your
right.
slippers and never did your hair and sat around. And we really don't have anything to talk about tonight, but could you just kind of come up with something?
I will. I will try my best. I wish that had been the case. I would love that for a few days, probably, and then I would go crazy. But I'm still like catching up from not getting everything done in June because it was a crazy travel month. But now we really are leaving Saturday morning for a fishing trip. So I don't know if everything's going to get done, but I'm going to be on the lake come Sunday. So I don't. That's happening. Bass fishing is
Didn't you
happening.
say that last week? I mean, should I believe you?
Last week, yes, I said I was going to try to get ready to go, and I have. I've been packing a little bit and doing stuff, but I'll be up all night tonight. About the
You
time you
haven't
get
even
up,
unpacked from your last trip yet.
I did just recently. So,
Michelle, I used to
but
work in
yeah,
disaster relief, so I always had a 10-day supply packed, ready to go. The
yeah,
problem is when you get that much stuff packed, you got a lot of laundry to do.
no
Remind
kidding.
me. Oh, let me tell you something. I meant to tell you this last week because you work with children.
Yes.
And we all talk about how it can be a blessing. And let me tell you, in disaster relief, there are some extremely highs. There are some very low lows. I've seen some really bad stuff. And I've seen some really great stuff. I won't share the bad stuff. Let me tell you about the highest moment that I ever experienced. We were in Norfolk, Virginia after a hurricane. Now, Norfolk is below sea level, so they're already swamped before the rain gets started good.
Right. Yeah.
And it was a mess. And when you come to these camps, we have all kinds of facilities that are brought to bear. It's an enormous operation. It's almost like a military operation. But one of the things that is provided is churches will build these shower units. So we actually, can have a shower. Now, maybe not hot water, but if you're tired enough. All right, so there's another big trailer that comes up, and it's long. And on the right, when they open the back door, on the right is the washers, and on the left is the dryers. And I tell you what, you get out there when there's no air conditioning, you run a chainsaw, you get really wanting a shower and a clean change
I
of clothes.
bet.
So normally what you would do, it's weird. You go, there's not a lot of privacy there. So you go into the shower unit and just leave your clothes on the floor, and one of the volunteers will pick them up and say, what's your name? And they'll tag it. They'll put it in a bag and they'll tag it. And then you go to bed. And the next morning you go to the laundry unit, and there will be in a plastic kitchen, garbage thing, your clothes all washed and dried and folded and with your name on it.
Oh wow.
I've been doing this for years. It's always the same way. Well, it was like our first night there, and we were sore, because we were out of shape, and we're sore walking around, very discouraged. It's just hard to get up when the enormity of the damage, and we walked. It's about 4 guys in my little team. And we walked to get our clothes from the laundry unit. And instead of plain white kitchen garbage bags, some Sunday school teacher somewhere had gotten some 7 or 8 year olds, 9-year olds, whatever, to draw things on that garbage bag. You're our hero. Thank you for serving our Lord. Oh, we cried like babies. And all of a sudden, we weren't tired anymore.
Yep.
See, I have another talk. It's not that you're tired. You're just not inspired. There's a difference.
That's good.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Anyway.
That'll preach.
All right.
That will preach.
Oh, I've preached it. Anyway.
I like it.
All right. You get to that rest of the time. I just had to share that because I thought you work
really
with children, and it's the kind of thing, if you ever encounter a group of children, you think, well, what difference can they make? They made a huge difference.
You bet.
You bet. I'll never forget it, and I'll never know who did it.
Aw, I love that. That's a really good story.
Tell me a good story.
I will.
Top that one.
I don't know if I can top that one, but anytime you bring dogs into the mix, people get excited.
Puppy dogs.
I'm a puppy dog lover. I mean, I like cats too, but I'm more of a dog person. But I think I told you in one of our broadcasts, I used to be on the board of the Humane Society here, and we're still involved. We love to be a part of that. But today on the front page of the Bedford Times-Mail newspaper, which is my city's newspaper right here, there's the headline said, "Dogs Helping Heroes." So, of course, I read it. Heroes, dogs in the same sentence.
Now, that is front page news where you're from, right?
This is front page news. This is why you love a small town, right? This is why I love a small town.
How often does that paper come out?
It's a daily, thank you very much. Yeah, it is a daily. Yes, it is. Every day we get this paper, and if you want to get the national news stuff, it's in here. But you probably gonna watch Fox or whatever, getting USA Today. But you don't get these kinds of stories always. So this is about a guy named Jim Day. He's a Vietnam veteran, and he experienced things on the battlefield that none of us who haven't been out there will ever understand. And so many times, no matter what they've been in or what they've been fighting, no matter what war it was, they come home with that PTSD and injuries and different things. But a lot of times it's that emotional trauma. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've heard about this for years. When I did the Join Our Town, I was the TV host for that in Indianapolis. We had an organization on there that they were telling about the high rate of suicides of veterans who suffer really alone with PTSD. They never tell anybody what they're feeling, and they think that's their only way out. And so that's kind of one of the telltale signs, is that many times these vets don't ask for any help. They just silently, and they just keep, they're tough, and they just keep to themselves.
Suffer in silence,
That's exactly right.
Alpha male. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They suffer in silence.
Absolutely.
And so it's disheartening for those of us who want to help. So I love this because like I said, I love the shelter dogs. We have a shelter dog named Bella that we rescued, and I love this particular program, and I love that it's called Dogs Helping Heroes. They pair those dogs who were also they're rescue dogs with veterans who are experiencing some kind of trauma, PTSD, or maybe they actually need some assistance, like they had an injury where they're on disability, and so
maybe they're just alone,
That too. They both get second chances. I just love this. This is all about Jim Day's story and how he literally locked himself away. He just couldn't get over some of the things that happened to him over there, and he went back and was on the police force, and then it was in this really serious automobile accident, which brought all of that back up that he thought he'd finally gotten over, but the trauma of that kicked in. And so he really did just like shut himself away in his house with like cameras, and was like real paranoid and really scared, and never even saw his sons. Like he told how miserable he was. So I'm reading this and my heart is just going out to this man. And then he said, this is just so great.
Are you going to cry?
I might. It was so precious. I loved it so much. It says, then through an organization called Dogs Helping Heroes, he met a black bundle of fur named Samson. It's a black lab. I know.
Oh.
And he said, he's given me back my freedom, Day said. Day and two other service dog recipients shared their stories recently with the members of this Bedford American Legion. That's what they were here for. And this group in town here, they're planning a 100-mile trip August 17th to raise funds for this Dogs Helping Heroes. So there was a reason for this article, but I just loved it so much. And there was this one quote. I love this. It says, they were talking about this other program that partners with it. It says, following his recovery, because see, Samson, his story's really sad too. It says, as it turns out, the Labrador Retriever had his own challenges. Abandoned in someplace in Kentucky in the woods by a former owner, Samson was covered with ticks and fleas and so skinny you could see every rib on his body. That is until he was rescued. Following his recovery, Samson was picked for a unique program called Paws Behind Bars. You ever heard of that? Paws
No.
Behind Bars? Oh, it's so precious. Okay. That pairs dogs with prison inmates for basic obedience training.
Oh, okay.
So listen to this quote. This is so great. This is then he attended a service dog school and a 10-week training program with Day. Both learned that while Samson has on his vest, he's all business. But when his vest comes off, he can play like a puppy. So it's like a win-win. And then I love this quote. You rescue a dog, rehab an inmate, rescue a hero, and save a family. What? How can you not love that? That's like the best thing ever. It's like win, 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 win. I'm gonna I just love that. That's impressed on my heart now. You rescue a dog, rehab an inmate, rescue a hero, and save a family. I just think that's precious. And this guy who runs this, he said, if they didn't have their dog, some of these men wouldn't be here today. It is just amazing what this organization is accomplishing. And they're not the only ones. This is just one that happened to be on my local paper today. This is Samson and Jim's story, but there are so many. I of course, I heard about this before, but I didn't know it affected us locally. I was on an airplane, and you read the airplane magazines. I think I was on Southwest, and there was a story just like this. And I asked the flight attendant if I could take the magazine. She said, yeah, because I said, I'm going to write a children's book about this. I want to write about, all these things about the everybody gets a second chance, which I just love. I love that whole parallel. And so I was already working on that. So of course this goes in my research file now. And then some of the other ones that, in case people are wondering, there's one called Pets for Patriots, pups with the number 4 Patriots, Pets for Vets. Like this Pets for Vets I was researching, they've made over 350 veteran pet matches since they began. I mean, there's probably a lot more. Those are just some just from a quick Google search that I found. So if you're a pet lover like me and you're a patriot, which I know we all are, this would be a great way to you can volunteer for those organizations, and you can also maybe donate some money. Just there's lots of ways you can help. And I thought, man, just getting the word out about this program, I love the heart behind it. And there's lots of different people doing this, lots of different organizations who are making the best of bad situations.
I am constantly amazed and in awe, of God. Because he made these amazing creatures. When I get out of the shower, my dog is right there. I mean, I would step on him. He is my friend. He gets beside himself when I come home. I'm afraid he's going to wet the floor. He just
ours does. Yeah, ours gets. It's called
he's just
excitement pee.
Yeah, he's just and I know that when we're lost and in our before we know Christ, we're just covered with ticks too, and we're just mangy, but God, and these dogs were just abandoned, yet God takes us in, however we are. We need to take, other lost people when they come to us, they probably need to be cleaned up.
Mm-hmm.
But so many churches, want you to clean up first, and then come to our nice church. In fact, you heard the story about the old dirt farmer, that went to the highfalutin church in his overalls and dirty boots. Did you hear about that?
I think I have, and I love it.
And
Sure.
He shook the preacher's hand on the way out, and the preacher, he said he enjoyed the service. He said he might come back next week. And the preacher said, well, if you do, why don't you pray this week and ask God what he would have you wear at this particular church? Mm-hmm. And he came back next week in his overalls, and he shook the pastor's hand on the way out. And the pastor said, Did you talk to God about what to wear at this church? He said, I sure did. Mm-hmm. He said, well, what'd God tell you? He said, God said he didn't know. He'd never been to this church.
That's right. I love that one. And that's true. You know what? Yeah. That says a lot. That's a funny joke, but that says a lot.
But when we see people, I know in various stages of life, I think all of us, if we would have been looked at when we were down and out, or at a low ebb in our life, maybe we didn't look as good, and maybe we didn't dress as good, and maybe we didn't even smell as good. But we need to think of those rescue dogs, and there's a spiritual parallel. We're literally given a new life and a new purpose, and I just think that's what I thought of when I saw that story when you emailed me.
I love it.
And the other thing that I believe parents in particular, if you're a new parent, I think everybody, but parents in particular, need to go to dog training and obedience school, whether they have a dog or not. because you're taught some basic principles of leadership, basic principles of management, the reward and discipline. The purpose of discipline is correction, not punishment. Never discipline in anger. Be fair. Don't tell the dog not to get on the couch only when company's over. That's not fair to the dog. Okay?
Exactly.
Be consistent. Set standards that are fair. So I think that, when I think of dogs, and I just got to give God credit, he didn't have to put these wonderful creatures here. He could have left us with the scorpions and the grasshoppers and the ants and the boll weevil.
No, thank you. Yeah, I don't like this. You would love this book. This is a book that I have on my shelf called So God Made a Dog.
Yeah.
It's 90 devotions for dog people, which, we are. Is that the cutest cover? Look at this cute cover. I love it. I can't figure out which way to go.
You have to move it. Yeah, there you go.
Look at this little face. Isn't he the cutest? Anyway, it's called So God Made a Dog. Worthy Publishing put out. I think I wrote like maybe 10 entries in this, but there's like 15 writers in this. But this one, I didn't write this one. I wish I would have. But this one entry is all about what we're talking about. I just love it. And the verse that they use is, we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. Romans 8:28, which is one that we always quote. That God takes bad things and makes them good. But this is about Dan, who was a Marine veteran, and he also had PTSD. And he found Wally the dog. And then Wally was a rescue. And I read it and I thought, oh, okay, I have to read it. This is story time, y'all. This is very short, but it says, it might seem hard to believe that Dan, a Marine veteran, an avid runner and triathlete, suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder. His broad smile and positive attitude paint a different picture. But pull up a chair and Dan will tell you how he lost part of his leg in combat and how a very special dog helped him get his life back. I remember hearing there's going to be an ambush, Dan said. I was on top of the 50 caliber machine gun.
That's a 50 caliber, yes. I know.
Yes, I didn't say it right, did I?
Yeah, that's half an inch.
I heard a big explosion. From there, it was like a slow motion, what you see in the movies. It was a nightmare. The trauma of that day forever changed Dan, marking him physically and emotionally. When he returned home to his parents and fiance, Dan just wasn't the same. He began to avoid people, especially crowds, and he struggled with anxiety. He could no longer handle loud noises as they triggered his PTSD. I was always looking over my shoulder, wondering if something bad was going to happen, he said. One day, something major did happen. He was ambushed again when Dan met his therapy dog. She jumped him, licked him in the face, and knocked him to the ground. Wally, which is a girl dog, I guess. Wally, a black Labrador retriever, this is also a lab, helped Dan engage in society again. The dog's presence helped Dan cope with the discomfort of crowds. And he said, I didn't want to lay around and just say, hey, I'm missing a leg, Dan recalled. I wanted to make the most of it. Wally was the missing piece physically and mentally. Wally helped Dan overcome the trauma of war, but the bond these two forged over the years runs deep. For instance, when Dan suffers from migraines, Wally offers his support in the form of a quiet presence. The pair go everywhere together. The Labrador Retriever even stood watch at the hospital the day that Dan's first son was born. Is that the most precious thing you've ever heard? Wally taught me patience. He taught me loyalty. He taught me how to be myself again. And then here was that parallel we were just talking about. In Christ, we can experience the same patience and devotion that Dan felt. When we allow God's love to saturate us, we find confidence to be ourselves, complete in God's love. Wally's life and loyalty also illustrates the even deeper loyalty of God, who gave up his son's life so that we could live. Okay, it just makes me want to bawl happy tears. I love that so much. Wally and Dan, so God made a dog. So you're right. I just think God made dogs just to be a blessing. They're just the most precious creatures. Yeah. They love unconditionally. They're always there for you. They'll listen to your stories when nobody else will.
What was it?
It's true.
Try to be the person your dog thinks you are.
I love that sign. I love that so much. Bella, our rescue dog, the way we found her, I was on the board of the Humane Society, and my good friend Bethany wanted to go adopt a dog. Now, not the Bethany that was on the show, but different Bethany here in town. And it was snowing that day, and my husband has a truck, so I said, we'll just take you out there because her car didn't do so well in the snow. So we drove out because the Humane Society is kind of out in the county on a bad road. And when we got there, we walked inside, and I said, I think we've got the perfect dog for you. Bella is just going to be perfect for you. Only her name wasn't Bella then. I forget what it was. I can't remember now. But anyway, I went in to get her, and I brought her out, and Jeff was parking the truck, and so I brought her out, and Bethany petted her, and she was real skittish because she'd been abused. And when Jeff walked in, Bella, who I can't remember what her name was then, but our Bella, kind of looked at both of us and just completely ditched us and ran and jumped in Jeff's arms. Like, it was like, I mean, in fact, Jeff Cotter was like, "What in the world?" Like, he didn't even know what to do. And I said, "I think you just got adopted." Bella just adopted him. And they say that the dogs, that kind of happens. And we saw it over and over again at the Humane Society, that the dog kind of just picks you. You don't really pick the dog. And so Bethany said, "I can't adopt this dog. This dog is obviously yours." We didn't go looking for a dog, but God knew we needed another dog. So we have this little fat dachshund who's 13 that we thought would be our last dog. And now we've got this Bella who's lots of energy. She's 4, and she's just brought such joy. Jeff said he finally has a dog that can jump in his truck. He's so excited. So it's just, she's the sweetest. It's like she knows she got a second chance. She is the sweetest dog you'll ever want to be around.
I know. Well, it's funny because my wife rescued a little Chihuahua, mostly Chihuahua, one of those yapping dogs.
Oh, sure.
Named Bella. And when this dog first got home, I walked in the door, that dog would immediately begin to tremble.
Yeah.
In fact, anytime a man came in the house, somehow this dog had a fear of men, probably, because of abuse. And I thought, well, this is going to be a heck of a thing, because I'm here, and I was here before Bella, and Bella's going to have to get used to this. We've had that dog, I guess, about 8 or 9 years now. But when I get done here in the studio, it's usually about 2 a.m. And I go in and I let the dogs out, and she just comes. She can't jump off the bed by herself. You have to help her. But when I put her back on the bed, she does this little paw thing and rolls over. And so she has gotten comfortable. At least she trusts me now. She's Mama's dog. Don't get me. Any dog not big enough to use as a pillow is not a suitable dog. Okay, I have a German Shepherd. Before that, I had labs, But
my son-in-law has that. My daughter, they have a big German Shepherd named Hux. We love him. He's my grandpup. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like to use the dog as kind of a pillow, and they're great. Oh, I guess everybody's got a dog story, but how can you not love them? Okay, you may not love dogs, but how can you not pause for a moment and wonder and thank God? Thank you. For giving us these friends who just love. They just love. That's all they do. And
they're so smart. And there's so many wonderful stories. That's why there's so many movies made about dogs. There's another movie coming out I just saw about A Dog's Way Home, where he finds his way back home. It's all over the country. And you've seen those really on Facebook and different social media platforms, the pictures of the dogs laying underneath their fallen owner's coffin, because
doesn't that get to you? Now, Michelle, you can cry, but I can't, so we can't.
Oh my gosh, I just can't. I cannot. It's just because that bond is forever, and it's just and you're right.
Know. And they know.
Do.
How do they know that?
It's just like what we talked about, the bond with our Lord and Savior. Like, there are so many parallels. I just love dogs so much, and I think there's so many special things about that relationship. So I never trust anybody who doesn't like dogs. Like, whenever I meet somebody and they're like, "Oh, I just don't like dogs," I'm like,
well, and I remember we
probably not going to be a fan of yours either. Then
a UPS relief driver came to my office one day, and I had my dog with me, and my dog wwent ballistic. And it's like, these dogs know things that we don't know.
Listen, they do know things, and there are protectors. My little 13-pound dachshund. She thinks she's a Doberman. I mean, she is. She's got that little dog syndrome. She thinks she's a big dog. She bosses Bella around. Bella's like 60 pounds, but she'd bite somebody's ankle off if she thought they were going to hurt me. That's all she could get. But she'd get right between us. They're very perceptive, and they will give their life for you.
They would.
There's just so many parallels.
They would. They really would. Michelle, I noticed that you had posted a thing about a writers' conference in Georgia, and you did a little video. I watched it.
Thanks.
Yeah. Do you want to share anything about that? Do you have a part in that, or what's going on?
I do, yeah. It's coming up at the North Georgia Christian Writers Conference, and it's run by Eva Marie Everson and Mark Hancock. Mark Hancock's the president of Trail Life, which is that great, kind of Boy Scout sort of, but it's not Boy Scouts, but it's the kind of the Christian version of Boy Scouts.
In Southern Baptist world, we call them Royal Ambassadors, but
there you go.
Every denomination has a brand,
So they're two fine people. Eva Marie's one of my really good friends. We call her Eva Diva. I love her. She's a brilliant writer, and so is Mark. He's got a new book coming out. But this is the second year for this conference. They've done the Florida Christian Writers Conference for I don't know how many years, at least 8 or 10 together. And but this is the second year for this one, and it's in I can never remember the name. It's like it's almost closer to one of the Carolinas. I have to look it up to see what the name of it is.
Probably Alpharetta.
But it's really like right there on the border, and we just love it there. It's on a lake, so if I'm not teaching, I can go out and bass fish just a little bit in between classes.
Is it Ridgecrest?
The one in Florida is at Ridgecrest, and you know what? I think this one may be as well.
I think you've been to Lake Yale, which is our Southern Baptist.
Oh yes, I've been there.
That's in Florida. Yeah, that's where we stage a lot of our disaster gear.
Okay, that's where they have the Florida Christian Writers Conference every year in the spring, and this year it's going to be in the fall. Yeah, I was just there in March. Yeah. Lake Yale's one of the Harris-Chain Lakes, right? That's where we're going fishing. Yeah, I love it there. But this one is the North Georgia Texas Conference. You can go online and read more about it if you want to go. It's not too late to register. And I'll tell you what, they have something, if you're just new to writing or you're thinking about being a writer, or maybe you kind of write as a hobby, but you're wondering if this is something you want to do in your retirement, or you're a full-fledged, I'm going to be a freelance writer, I'm in it to win it. There's stuff for every beginning all the way to advanced writers. You can meet with agents, you can meet with editors. I'll be the representing Little Lamb Books. And there's going to be real inspiring keynotes, and there's good fellowship, because writers, we're a little bit quirky and not everybody gets us, so it's a great time.
Yeah.
We're a little bit weird, so we can all get together, and all of our weirdness together doesn't seem weird, and we all get each other.
Seem normal.
It's a good time. It really is. We have a lot of fun. Last year I had the best time ever, and this year it'll be the same. It's always a party if Eva Diva's there, but it's a smaller conference. I think that they're growing it, but it's not too intimidating. Like some of the other ones I teach at might have like 500 people. This one I think is more like 150, so it's not it's not too overwhelming. If this is your first conference, this would be a good one to go to.
It's not like herding cattle. Yeah.
No, it's not. You're gonna love it. It's a really
Toccoa,
good one.
Toccoa, Georgia.
That's it, Toccoa. I was
from the chat room. Shout out to Tammy from Georgia. She
Way to
knows.
Go. Tammy, I appreciate that, because I couldn't think of it. I've only been there once. Boy, it was a beautiful little community there, and that lake was nice. They told me there were some stripers in there, but I haven't tried it yet. But we love it there.
There'll be a few less if you get out there. You and Jeff.
You can bet that. Last year, I took my little travel rod with me, and I'm pulling out stuff from my luggage, and everybody's like, they don't expect me to be a fisherman. I'm like, yeah, I am, so don't mess with me. We had so much fun. So come and join us if you guys want. I mean, you can still register, and I'll be teaching. I think I'm teaching writing for children and like building platform and how to pitch to agents. About 6 or 7 different classes.
There you go.
And yeah.
Well, that was a nice. If I'm not a writer, so I couldn't connect to a lot of that stuff, but it was well done, well presented, professionally done.
And thank you.
So I always, I don't like theater, for example. You ever go on a cruise and they got those shows? It's like
I love all that.
What are these guys walking around in tights? What's up with that? And I think, well, that's kind of like football pants in a way.
Well, that's true.
But even though I don't really appreciate that particular talent, I do appreciate discipline, dedication, and professionalism. And these people are incredibly athletic. They are fit. I mean, when you start taking a 100-pound person and holding them over your shoulders, yeah, you're pretty strong. It's like cheerleaders in the South is typically for men. For women only.
Oh no!
Let me tell you something. Men are cheerleaders.
I know.
Yeah.
Listen, when you're that is tough.
Yes.
You're lifting.
And that person's depending upon you. Yeah. Well, here goes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. Maybe I should have been a cheerleader. It would have been, Anyway, no. But
probably
not.
They are.
But hey, those are athletes. Okay. My daughter was a cheerleader. I assure you, there is discipline. There is.
I wrote a column about that once. I was going to school at Asbury Christian. It's a Christian college in right outside of Lexington, Kentucky, called Wilmore. Mm-hmm. And I actually had a college scholarship there to cheer for I was a cheerleader there. And yeah, I know, right? So I was there, and I wrote for the newspaper because I was already thinking journalism. And this one guy, he was just this burly guy. He was like, cheerleading's not a sport. And I'm like, oh, really?
Oh, it is.
Let me see you do, a round off 12 back handsprings. I was just sassy as I am now.
Yeah.
So I wrote this whole column about how cheerleading is a sport.
It is.
And Oh
It
yeah,
is.
a lot of people don't believe it, but it is. And there were actually more injuries in cheerleading than there are any other sports.
You're not
I
wearing
did
much. Yeah.
it's no, there's no. We're not wearing helmets. This is
Yep.
all just done. There's no nets. You're
Yep.
just it's tough.
It is. I regret, and this is, what topic are we on? I don't know. But back when I
It's
was
random.
coaching and playing, which was, I haven't coached in a long time. But at halftime, the home team cheerleaders would go across to the other side, and they would hold hands with the cheerleader from the visiting team, and they would come over to this side. They would do a cheer for the home. Then they would go over there and do a cheer. And it really made the game civilized. I mean, it
Yes.
just lets you know, look, we're out here beating our heads together. It's very serious. It is warlike. Okay? But halftime reminded me that it is just a game. Okay, we all want, and then of course after the game, okay, you find out a lot about people after a losing game. Okay, anybody can be a champion when you're winning. I talked about this with Dell last night. When you want to find out what somebody's made of down here, find out when they're down. How are they then? When we're up, it's easy to be up. Everything's okay.
Yeah, that's right.
But when things are down, is this the kind of person that blames others? The referees made us lose the game. Y'all did. And they start fighting and bickering. But after the game, we shake hands. And whether I've been on both sides. Yes, we lost some games, and I'd look that coach straight in the eye and say, "Congratulations, coach." Well, and I never had if we lost a game. Now it was high school. We didn't have those press conferences. But have you ever noticed that they tend to pay a compliment to the team that beat them in these things? There's a reason for that. Okay, one, don't make excuses. Okay, we lost because they were better. We didn't do our job well. They did theirs well. But more importantly, if I'm going to get beat, what am I supposed to do? Say, that's a sorry team and we got beat by them? No,
Right.
they're a great team. What a great program. What a
happened,
great
they could
coach.
beat us,
What
right.
great talent. That's why they beat us. They're really good. So if I'm going to get beat, I want to get beat by a good team, not some. And anyway, I love coaching.
I agree. And we did the same thing with our cheerleaders, but I cheered all the way to elementary to college, and we called it the welcome cheer. We'd go do the cheer to welcome them there, and then they'd come do the cheer. And it just, we always played nice with them.
Yeah.
And not that, high school sports is crazy. Like, you coached it, and there's a lot of feelings on the field, and then in the stands, a lot of crazy parents. And so we sometimes felt like we were the only ones that were sane.
Yeah.
We would be like trying to make everybody
and actually,
happy.
there's more trouble in the stands because that's unrestrained. On the field, we learn to focus our anger and channel it into a specific, to execute better. Where in the stands, if they're mad, they're just mad, and
they're hollering and not letting filters there.
That's not American. That's
not very good.
Competition brings out the best in us, Michelle.
Yeah.
And the worst.
That's right.
And the
Boy,
worst.
that's the truth. And it doesn't matter if it's a sporting event or if it's a writers' conference and
any
somebody's
competition.
book. Yeah, like I told you, Dell and I, we joked. I mean, he will never let me live it down. At the last conference we went to in Blue Ridge, the SAIL Awards, both of our books were up for best devotional, and neither one of us won, but he got second and I got third. And he's like, I didn't care to win as long as I could beat you. I'm like,
well,
gee, thanks.
I hope Dell may not see this one, but anytime he comes in second, or anybody, here's what you say. Oh, that would make you the very first among losers.
That's Ricky Bobby, right? It's not first
I don't
or
know.
last, or...
I actually, and we're running long, but I won't tell it tonight. But remind me sometime to share about the second place trophy that I am extremely proud of.
Oh, that
Very
sounds like a
proud
good
of.
story. Yeah.
I've
leave
done
us
it,
a little cliffhanger here.
Yeah. There is one. And I was extremely proud of that. I'll always remember it. Oh gosh, we've been at it 35 minutes, Michelle. Next week. Okay, so now you're as soon as we get off the air, you got a deadline. You got it. You look so stressed. I mean, but once that deadline is done, which will be like tonight or tomorrow, you are going to back off a little bit.
6 a.m.
Okay.
Yes. So when I finish tomorrow, I have one more. I have to teach an online conference for the Yahweh Sisterhood, they're called, at 6:30 tomorrow
I've
night.
heard of that.
And then, yeah, so I'm doing that tomorrow night. But other than that, turning in a book and doing one more like hour-long interview, I'm heading for the lakes, y'all. I'm out of here Saturday morning, and I won't be answering any email. I'm not going to take any calls. I will do Wednesday's show, but I'm going to do it
From the
probably
lake.
From the lake. I'm probably going to do it while I'm out there for the evening bite. It's going to be
Well, you're gonna be in your camo or your boots.
I make no apologies for that. So yes, that could happen.
You are a walking contradiction, ma'am.
I've heard that before. Yeah.
I'm just glad to have you on the team because we're weird over here. You know, we're
We all get each other. It's like a family. Yeah.
You make us look normal.
I've also been told that before. So yeah, that's good.
Michelle, I was tired before this. You got me going again. I appreciate that.
Oh, good.
And it's always a pleasure. I'm so glad to have you on our team. Please connect me with that conference in North Carolina because I
will do.
I think we don't have time to share, but next week, we're gonna have us a come to Jesus meeting. Yeah, all these people that I have heard about and talked to, and they're all going to be there, and
it's going to be fun.
Oh yeah, we're going to charge up the batteries. So, all right. Well, Michelle, I know you got a deadline, so go do your deadline.
Yeah, I better go hit it. Hi, everybody in Twitterland. Thanks for joining us. I'm sorry I didn't get to talk with you or anything, but I'm going to go right. So.
Oh, we'll see you next week from the lakes of Okeechobee or wherever the heck you are at that point.
Bye.
Bye now. All right, so there we have it. Michelle you know, she's got a lot of energy. You know, I mean, and I put the boats in the background. Those are not bass boats, but you know what? They're boats, and I just wanted to do that to kind of honor her. And I hope she gets that deadline behind her and can throw back and enjoy some of the fruits of her labor. Michelle Medlock Adams here every Wednesday evening, right here on PJNet Live. I think I'll let this bumper kind of play to the end because I'm really proud of it. She let me make this for her. Enjoy.
Speak to that the older women should mentor the younger women because I just feel more alone right now than I've ever felt in my whole life. I want to know where God is in all this because I know that He's a God of His Word. A lot of kids come with no knowledge of God. So you start right where they are and you get to tell them about, God is everlasting and sometimes He allows bad things to happen. And like today we talked about how in our